Hi, everyone. Welcome to the last section of Chapter 3. So I will be back in the country when this email goes out. But because we had been doing Chapter 3 and I was on a roll, I decided to do a video instead of having a big lag time in between this. So next week on October 30th, we'll do a Chapter 3 review, and then we'll finish up Chapter 4 between November and December. And I think after that, what I might do is have each call be an entire chapter or hit some high points of the chapters. Because I think at this point, we pretty much know the basics. And there are some parts to read, and maybe I'll just hit on some of the key points. We'll see. That might be too much to do one chapter in a call, but maybe we'll do a couple of sections in a call and not necessarily go paragraph by paragraph. We'll see. We'll play with it and see what happens with that. So before we begin, let's go ahead and do our opening preparation. So just wherever you are, take a nice deep breath. And just relax and gently close your eyes, and then repeat after me. I dedicate this time to healing my mind and awakening to my true nature. I surrender to the source of love within me and let it guide my way. As I do this mind healing work, I am willing to be mindful of my thoughts without judgment. I am willing to look at how I view my life circumstances as helpful feedback. I am willing to let go of limiting thoughts and beliefs. I am willing to let go of judgments about myself and others. I'm willing to quiet my mind and allow Holy Spirit to take the lead. I am willing to let go of tension. I soften and allow the Holy Spirit to lead me into peace. My aware self leads me as I now focus on healing my mind. All right, so 3-7, creating versus self-image. So we're back on perception versus knowledge. We're back on the innocence perception, and we're back on this whole concept of create versus make. And in this section, what I think is extremely important, or a point that should be emphasized, is that when you make, so create is joining with God, and making is being a separate body, a separate ego, and making something on your own. And what I think is really interesting about this section is that when you make, you're using your ego as your separate body to make. And it's completely in the illusion. It's not real. It's within time and space. It's the nightmare, all the things that we've said. But that does not make it any less powerful, or the impact of what you miscreate is also very powerful. So understand that you have the power as joined as part of God, as part of a pure force of love on this planet. You have that power. And when you create, you use that power to do great things, to increase the amount of love in the world. But when you miscreate, or you join with a body and you see through the ego and you make things, i.e. miscreate, you still have a very powerful impact. It's just not an impact that's joined with love. And that's why in the course, and one of the key points that's going to come out through this, which is we're going to be talking about in January, I'm going to be starting a whole series with you all on self-compassion, and this is going to be a big part of it, because the way that you work with that is you look at your miscreation, you look at the illusion, you look at everything that's happening, you look at it, you see it, you say, wow, this is what I've done, this is what I've created. You don't go into denial. You look at it and you choose again. You bring the broken parts, the miscreations, you bring them into the light so that they can be renewed. That's the process. That's how we grow. And the Course in Miracles, it doesn't, I don't think, say this in the Course in Miracles, or maybe it does actually, but Marianne Williamson says this. She said, relationships, you get two people and you rub your not smooth, your ragged parts against each other until you get smooth, until you create that smoothness. And that's how you grow. But you got to do the rubbing to get to that point. So we don't judge ourselves for the rubbing. We don't judge ourselves for the miscreation. We see it for what it is, and we choose again. And Marianne Williamson talks about this a lot, and I'm really seeing it in this one where she says, it's time for us to be adults. It's time for us not to say, I know I shouldn't have done that, but I can't help myself. And it's time to be adults and say, wow, I created that. I made that. I put an illusion together that's not useful. I'm the one who did that. And I can choose to do it differently. I can make a different choice. That's what adults do. They look at what they've created and they say, that's not really working for me, and I can make a different choice. And that's what we're being asked to do in this section. So I think it's a very powerful section. So I created this little diagram that I don't know if you guys can see. So let's see. So I wrote, we can make, it says make or create. And then I put an arrow. Make is without God, create is with God. And then with make without God, powerful illusion, with God, powerful truth. So this decision to make or create comes right back down to the authority problem. So we are back to the authority problem. We're back to innocent perception. So in the authority problem, we have to choose which part of our mind we are going to align to. Are we going to align to separate bodies? I got to make it on my own. It's me against the world. Eat or be eaten. Is that the thought we're going to align to? Or are we going to align to this belief system of I'm part of the whole, sunbeam in the sun, a drop in the ocean, one wave of the ocean, Marianne Williamson says. You used to say, do you think of yourself as a wave in the ocean and go, oh my gosh, I'm a wave in the ocean. There's all these other waves. Some of these waves are bigger than me. Some of these waves can overtake me. Or do you say, I'm one with the ocean. I'm a wave as part of one big ocean. When I move, they move. It's a decision. It's the same set of facts, and it's a decision on how to see it. And we are being really guided over here to say, it's a decision. Don't forget that it's a decision. One decision creates a powerful illusion, which robs you of your peace, makes you suffer. Another decision brings you into pure peace and to pure truth and to pure reality. And oh, by the way, if you're having trouble choosing and trouble making this choice, only one of them's real and the other one's just complete crap that you're choosing and suffering for no reason whatsoever. So it's not really a choice, but yet it is a choice and you have to make it. But one choice makes no sense whatsoever and the other choice is just completely obvious. But hey, it's up to you which one you choose. That's kind of what we're getting in over here. But that, hey, it's up to you. I kind of said that flippantly because really in Course in Miracle and God World, it doesn't matter what you choose because I'm still here and I love you. And when you're ready, you can choose again and it's going to be fine. So you chose illusion. Oh, well, you suffered a little bit. That's unfortunate. I wish you hadn't made that choice, but it's here and I'm here and I'm available to you. So let's talk about this section. So paragraph 1. Every system of thought must have a starting point. It begins with either making or creating, a difference we have already discussed. Their resemblance lies in their power as foundations. Their resemblance lies in their power as foundations, a choice. You can either have make or you can have create. Their difference lies in what rests upon them. Both are cornerstones for systems of belief by which one lives. It is a mistake to believe that a thought system based on lies is weak. That a thought system based on lies is weak. Nothing made by a child of God is without power. It is essential to realize this because otherwise you'll be unable to escape from the prison that you made. So don't look at the ego as something that, oh, it's an illusion and it's false, so it can't really harm me. No, it can't really harm you, but it can cause you a heck of a lot of suffering on its way down. So nothing that the child of God is made is without power. Both of these are foundational. It's a choice. It's the way you see the world. It's a foundational choice. The difference is what rests upon the foundational choice that you make. So that's the authority problem. The authority problem comes into make versus create. The authority problem is I got to do it on my own or I'm one with God. I was created by God. I'm part of a system. Everything works in the system that I'm part of. Even if I can't see it right now, doesn't mean it's not actually working. We start based on this belief, and then we create or we make based on who we actually believe is in charge, who actually has the power to create. And we're going to get into this whole idea of how we actually do believe we make ourselves, how this comes up, how we believe we can change what God made. Okay, paragraph 2. You cannot resolve the authority problem by depreciating the power of your mind. To do this is to deceive yourself, and this will hurt you because you really understand the strength of mind. You also realize that you cannot weaken it any more than you can weaken God. The devil, quote unquote, is a frightening concept because he seems to be extremely powerful and extremely active. He is perceived as a force in combat with God, battling him for the possession of his creatures. The devil deceives by lies and builds kingdoms in which everything is in direct opposition to God. Yet he attracts men rather than repels them, and they are willing to sell, quote unquote, sell him their souls in return for gifts of no real worth. This makes absolutely no sense. Okay. We do not make the ego less powerful. We cannot depreciate the power of our mind. We can't say God is real, our separate ego thoughts are false, therefore our separate ego thoughts are no big deal. They're a big deal. They can get us into a lot of trouble. We can have some big miscreations with it. If you look around the world today and you look at the problems we have today, you tell me, were those created with the thought system of God, or were those created with the thought system of men being separate? How did those problems occur? So there's some real impact with this thought system. It's not real, but there's an impact with it, which is why we have to look at it and bring it into the light so that we can stop miscreating. Okay, so that's the first thing. Do not depreciate the power of your mind because, one, you deceive yourself and you don't really understand the strength of your mind. When you depreciate the power of your mind, you think I'm helpless, you go into victim mentality, and you create from that helpless victim mentality. You get more of what you're creating. And the whole time you're thinking, well, I'm not very powerful. And the whole time you're creating all these horrible outcomes. So don't do that. When you also realize you can't weaken your mind any more than you can weaken God. The devil is a frightening concept because he's extremely powerful and extremely active, aka your mind. We know how powerful and active our minds are. Our minds is the devil. He is perceived as a force in combat with God. Authority problem. I create myself, me versus God, me versus God. That part of your mind that goes me versus God, that's the devil. That's the authority problem. Battling him for possession of his creatures. The devil deceives by lies and builds kingdoms in which everything is direct opposition to truth. What we talked about in the previous section was how, based on perception and judgment, in order for things to fit that, you have to discern out certain information to make your thought system work. That's how the devil works. He discerns out the things that aren't useful and builds a really wonderful story in your mind about how horrible things are, how you're being attacked, how everything's going wrong, by getting rid of any of the facts or anything that would help support the opposite viewpoint of that. Yet he attracts men rather than repels them, and they're willing to sell him their soul in return for gifts of no worth. This makes absolutely no sense. So this is how our ego system works. It says, I'm weak. I've got serious issues. Nobody else knows about how bad, everybody else is okay, but I've got some serious issues and I'm really weak. So therefore, I really have to do all these things to protect myself. And I'm not against anybody else. I'm not like a bad person. Everybody else has just got it figured out. It's just me that's got like something deep and dark wrong with me. So these are the things I have to do to protect myself. And P.S., the things you have to do to protect yourself are attack other people. And that's the power of the ego thought system. That's the devil. Because the devil's telling you, no, you're just doing this to protect yourself. You don't want to harm anybody else. And the things you're doing to protect yourself, Course in Miracles, a lot of our lessons have been, in my defenselessness, my safety lies. When you protect yourself, when you defend yourself, you're attacking another. But we're thinking we're defending ourselves. We're thinking, I'm just taking care of myself. I can't handle the situation. I'm just doing the best I can. I just have to attack you so that I don't feel so bad about me. But if we saw that that's what we were actually doing, we'd never do it. We're not crazy. We wouldn't do that if we knew what we were doing. But we don't know. That's how the ego works with us. So separation is the devil. That is the devil. There is no devil running around out there waiting to trip you. The devil's in your own mind, which is worse. I wish he was running out there waiting to trip us. He's in your own mind. It's a choice. Do you choose God or do you choose the devil? Do you choose God or do you choose separation? Do you choose oneness or do you choose separation? Do you choose to see in truth or do you choose to stay stuck in the illusion? Okay, that is what the devil is. It's that separation, that power, the authority problem. I'm in charge. No, I'm in charge. I'm in charge. No, I'm in charge. And God's sitting back and going, look, the force of love is what rules this planet. It's in charge. Whether you think it is or not, it still is. So you're sitting here and you're just suffering and wasting time and you're doing stuff, the Course says, this makes absolutely no sense. It doesn't even make sense. You're making these choices that make no sense. I'm not even involved. God doesn't even get involved in that because it just makes no sense. He just patiently waits for you to see again, to see clearly. All right, paragraph 3. We have discussed the fall and separation before, but its meaning must be clearly understood. The separation is a system of thought, real enough in time, though not in eternity. All beliefs are real to the believer. The fruit of only one tree was forbidden, quote unquote, in the symbolic garden, but God could not have forbidden it, or it would not have been eaten. If God knows his children, and I assure you that he does, would he have put them in a position where their own destruction was possible? The forbidden tree, quote unquote, was named the tree of knowledge, quote unquote. Yet God created knowledge and gave it freely to his creation. The symbolism here has been given many interpretations, but you may be sure that any interpretation that sees either God or his creation as capable of destroying their own purpose is an error. Okay, I actually wrote a whole blog post about the tree of knowledge because I had this aha moment way before we got to chapter 3 where I was like, tree of knowledge and wanting to know, that's what's killing us. What's killing us is this desire of wanting to know. When we already know, we don't have to go seek knowing. Knowing is our birthright. Listening is our birthright. We're constantly being talked to by the power of love, by God, by guides, whatever you want to call it. We're constantly being taken care of and given messages. We have to stop seeking it and sit quietly to hear it. So this one, so one of the things that comes out here is this concept of absolute versus relative reality. So absolute reality is there's only we never left heaven. We're in heaven right now. This moment, we are actually in heaven. Time and space does not exist. I'm perfect as I was created. You're perfect as you're created. That is the absolute reality. But we had this split. We had this tree of knowledge thing happen. We are looking around saying, I'm here, you're there. I know we're one. Like, I kind of get that, but we don't seem like one. You look really different than I look. We don't look the same. We don't act the same. We don't even like the same kind of food. I don't get this whole oneness thing. I mean, I get it conceptually, but I'm not really seeing it. And that is relative reality. Okay, so that's the relativeness of it. So the Course is recognizing that there's two different types of reality over here where it says the separation is a system of thought, real enough in time, but not in eternity. So it's recognizing how real this seems in our thoughts, even though it's not real in eternity. All beliefs are real to the believer. Again, choose which way are you going to believe, because whatever you believe, you make real. The fruit of one tree was forbidden in the symbolic garden, but okay, so here's a couple of key points in here, and then I'll summarize with what the takeaway is. Okay, so the first thing it says is, if God did not want you to eat the fruit from a tree, do you really think we'd be out there eating the fruit from a tree? Like, if God really didn't want us to do that, do you think we'd just be like, yeah, I know, but I've got free will, I'm more powerful, I can eat from the fruit of the tree? It makes no sense. So that's the first thing that makes no sense. Second thing that makes no sense is, if you think of yourself as a parent, or think of, even if you're not a parent, think of a helpless being that is dependent on you, that you love dearly. Would you go and put them in a bad situation and sit there and watch them fail? Would you say, hey, can't eat this tree, but I'm just going to put you in this tree and I'm going to make it really tempting, because they'll be like, I'm going to watch you fail. Like, I know you're not going to be able to handle this temptation. I'm going to watch you fail. No parent does that. No parent puts their child in danger for amusement. And if they do, we call that very abusive situation, if you had a parent that did that. Not the image we have of God. Not a purely loving parent would not do that. So that's the second part that makes no sense whatsoever over there. And the third is, we already came from pure knowledge. We started at pure knowledge. And when we ate this tree, that's where the split came. And this is my personal belief. This is not Course in Miracles, but when I was reflecting on this, sometimes when you have it all, you have to kind of lose it to appreciate it. And I kind of feel like that's what it was. Like, Adam and Eve, they were in perfect knowledge. They were in perfect peace. They were in perfect harmony. They had nothing else. And then they had this thought, the devil being a thought, they had a thought that said, maybe there's something else that I don't know about, and it's in this tree right here. But maybe there's something else that I don't know about that's in this tree was destructive, was not useful. And it got me thinking about drugs, about the opioid crisis, because I live in a place where that's something that's up and about around here. And so it got me thinking about the opioid crisis, and about, why do people even try drugs? It's clearly destructive to your body. It's highly addictive. It's not good for you. And I don't want to get into, I'm not trying to take a political stance. So I'm not talking about alcohol or marijuana as a drug. I'm talking about like opioid addiction, heroin. Like, it's not good. I mean, who doesn't know that that's not good for you? So why would somebody do that? And it's like, they do it because they think that there's something else there that they don't currently have, that if they took this drug, they would be able to access something or see something or be part of something that they don't have access to right now. Now, again, picture somebody you really love and care about thinking that they needed to try, meth, or needed to try heroin because their life wasn't working, or, things weren't good, whatever the motivation is. Okay. But they had like a reason, like an actual reason, like something's not good, and they want to get away from what's not good by they want to escape it by having this drug, or they want to feel better by having this drug, whatever the reason is. Assume it's like a good reason. Okay. Like, really, this is somebody's thought process over here. And imagine you're looking at this person that you love, and you're thinking, hey, you're perfect to me. With all these problems, with all these issues, with everything that's going wrong, I just see you as perfect. And I just love you. And I think you're awesome. And I don't think there's a damn thing wrong with you. But they're seeing themselves as somehow flawed or less than or in need of. And they're going to go and do this crazy thing because they think it's going to complete them or make it better or whatever. It makes no sense. That's why the Course in Miracles is saying it makes no sense. If you could see yourself, if you could see you the way I see you, you'd never go make this choice. It just doesn't even make any sense. It's not even, do I agree with the choice or do I disagree? It's, you don't need it. You're complete and full and perfect and wonderful. That's how God sees us. I don't know why you guys are out there doing all this crazy stuff and trying to prove your worth and trying to prove you're good enough and try to prove you're lovable. Like, of course you're worthy. Of course you're good enough. Of course you're lovable. Love created you like itself. What else would you be? How could you not see what you actually are? And therefore, my friends, the innocence perception. How could you not see yourself as you actually are? How did we create these crazy views of ourselves that are so far from the truth of who we are? And everybody else knows it in your life. You've got tons of people who tell you the amazing, wonderful person that you are. Tons of them. And it's still us that believe there's some bad seed deep down inside. If they really knew, and we're going to talk about that in this next paragraph, still have that crazy belief. And it's just crazy. It's not real. It's insane. It's insane. There's a couple parts when I prep for these, I read the unedited version of Course in Miracles, which actually talks to Bill and Helen, like very specific about things going on in their life. So it's very interesting to read it. And in a couple of them, it says, you are insane. And that is a fact. You are crazy. And that is not crazy, insane. You are insane. And that is a fact. And as I'm reading this, I get it. You are insane. And that is a fact. I am insane when I think that there's something wrong with me. And that is a fact. That is a fact. And every time I believe there's something wrong with me, that's the illusion. And you don't run away from it. And you don't push it away. Because remember we said when you judge it and push it away, you actually put it right here and store it. You look at it and you go, I actually believe this insane thought about myself. Isn't that interesting? And you do it with no judgment. You just look at yourself and you say, this is an insane belief I believe about myself. And that is crazy and it's insane. And I'm going to bring this belief into the light. And I'm going to heal this belief. And there's no judgment. And that's what I'm talking about at the beginning of the year. We're going to start self-compassion. Because when we can see ourselves and we can see our insane parts with no judgment, and we can just look at them, they disappear. You take your dark parts into the light and the dark parts disappear. It's the monster under the bed. When you turn the light on, it's gone. It disappears. And that's what this whole process is. We just keep going back into the light. We keep taking it back into the light so it can disappear. Okay, paragraph 4. Eating the fruit of the tree of knowledge is symbolic expression for usurping the ability for self-creating. This is the only sense in which God and his creations are not co-creators. The belief that they are is implicit in the self-concept, or the tendency of the self to make an image of itself. Images are perceived, not known. Knowledge cannot deceive, but perception can. You can perceive yourself as self-creating, the authority problem. But you cannot do more than believe it. You cannot make it true. So you can perceive yourself as self-creating, but you cannot do more than to just believe it. You cannot actually make it true. And as I said before, when you finally perceive correctly and can only be glad that the foundation stone in your thought system, hold on. And as I said before, when you finally perceive correctly, you can only be glad that you cannot. Until then, however, the belief that you can is the foundation stone in your thought system, and all your defenses are used to attack ideas that might bring it to the light. You still believe you are an image of your own making. Your mind is split with the Holy Spirit on this point, and there is no resolution while you believe one thing that is literally inconceivable. That is why you cannot create and are filled with fear about what you make. Okay, so this got me thinking on a couple of different analogies for this. Have you ever seen a kid close their eyes and think that you can't see them? Like they're trying to hide from you, and they close their eyes, and then they think that you can't see them. That's kind of what I think about. It's like, oh, I created myself. I've got my own thing going on. And God's like, I can see you. I created you. You're right there. Okay. I don't know what you're doing. Because you don't correct a kid. You know, when a kid closes their eyes and they're like, they think that they're hiding, you don't reach out. You don't go, you're not hiding. I can see you. You just kind of go, okay, well, that's cute. That's cute. They'll figure it out. They'll figure out that they're right in the middle of the living room and everyone can see them even though their eyes are closed. And that's this whole idea of self-concept. We keep thinking that we created ourselves. Now, if you think that you do not believe you created yourself, because I think when we say this term, we believe we created ourselves, it's like, well, I don't really believe, like, I know that there's a higher power and I know that I'm correct. Like, I don't actually believe I created myself. Here is what this means from A Course in Miracles. So God created you perfect as a part of God, as an image of God. So pure love. That's how God created you. But each of us really truly believes that we're not perfect, that we're flawed. And we know this. Like, I see the way I react to things. Like, I'm not perfect, I'm flawed. Like, I know for a fact I'm flawed. That's self-creation. Because if God created you perfect, but you say, well, I know I was created perfect, like, I get that. But, like, trust me, I can see myself. I'm not perfect. Like, I have flaws. Then you somehow believe that you can change, that you have the power to change that perfect thing God created. That God gave you this perfect creation, and you somehow, with your own power, in your own body, with your mind, took that perfect creation that God created perfect, and somehow you warped it into something that's not perfect. You did that because you're that powerful. That's what we're talking about here. That's the authority problem. That's self-creation. Those beliefs you have about yourself are the devil going up against God. That's the authority problem. You were created perfect, which means you are still perfect. You can't change yourself. You can't recreate yourself. You don't have that power. If you think you have that power, you've joined with the ego thought system. When you know, I don't have that power, I'm exactly as God created me, I'm having all these thoughts and all these feelings, it's the devil. I need to look at these. I need to shine the light on them because they're the illusion and they're false. And if I allow these thoughts to stay there, and if I ignore them or run away from them or judge them as bad and push them away, I'm just making them stronger in my own head. I have to look at them. I have to bring them into the light because I didn't create myself. The fact that I'm having this thought has nothing to do with me because I didn't create myself. The fact that I don't think I'm good enough, that's nothing to do with me because I didn't create myself. The fact that I think I'm not as smart as other people, that doesn't have anything to do with me because I didn't create myself. The fact that I think I'm better than other people, that I'm prettier than other people, has nothing to do with me because I did not create myself. So any of these thoughts are just a way that I separate. They're this funny, cute little thing I do, like a little kid who closes their eyes and thinks that they're invisible. And they're not that funny and that cute because they miscreate on a very high level. They make on a high level. So I just simply look at them, I bring them into the light, and I choose again. Because once I bring them into the light, I go, that's silly. Why would I believe that about myself? That was silly. I don't even know what made me believe it. It's when we leave it up here and let it whirl around up here and store it up here, that's when we miscreate and create some really bad stuff with it out of our complete confusion and in our insanity. When we bring it into the light, we go, I don't know why I was worried about that. It's interesting. That's the experience I've been having lately. I was just talking to Lori. The experience I have literally in the past few weeks, and I attribute it to the Course in Miracles as well as the self-compassion work I'm doing, I'm seeing all these patterns I run and all these really bizarre behaviors I do and all the ways the games I play. And I'm just looking at all of them. And I have literally no judgment about myself. I just think, what would cause me to play that? What would cause me to make this really complicated web? Why can't I just be me and be cool? Why would I do all this? It's just interesting. Why am I doing this? I don't really need to do this anymore. And literally that's it. It's just, why am I doing this? I don't need to do it. And then it's just it drops because once you can see what you're doing and you can see how crazy it is and you're like, what is my purpose in doing this? And you realize I don't really, I'm strong and I can handle somebody disagreeing with me. I can handle somebody not liking me. I don't need these bizarre behaviors. Then all of a sudden they just lose their power. The illusion shatters, crumbles, disappears, and you're just back into this place of innocence perception. I'm good. I'm fine. It's not even a big deal. This is very powerful, the stuff that we're talking about over here. In the beginning of chapter 2, it says, you believe you can distort what God created. And that's what we're talking about. When you believe that there's something inherently wrong with you, it's a belief you can distort what God created, which is a belief in self-creation, which is the authority problem. So all those tie together. Okay, paragraph 5. The mind can make believe in separation very real and very fearful. And this belief is, quote unquote, the devil. It is powerful, active, destructive, and clearly in opposition to God because it literally denies his fatherhood. Look at your life and see what the devil has made. But realize that this making will surely dissolve in the light of truth because its foundation is a lie. Your creation by God is the only foundation that cannot be shaken because the light is in it. Your starting point is truth, and you must return to your beginning. Much has been said, much has been seen since then, but nothing has really happened. Yourself is still in peace, even though your mind is in conflict. You have not yet gone back far enough, and that is why you become so fearful. As you approach the beginning, you feel the fear of the destruction of your thought system upon you as if it were the fear of death. There is no death, but there is a belief in death. Okay, so you are as God created you, not what you made yourself. Whatever evil you think you did, you are still as God created you. This is from lesson 93 in the course. So we bring the conflict into the light. We face it. We see the illusion. And as we do this, as we start to bring this conflict into the light, the ego is going to start facing it. To have to admit that I run all these crazy patterns, the ego is going to say, don't tell people that. Do not tell people that. Do you know what they're going to think of you? So you're basically telling people that you have all these manipulative, weird behaviors you do because you don't think you're good enough. Do you know what's going to happen to you if people find out about you? The ego is protecting itself from facing death because I don't care what's going to happen to me because I'm moving into light, into knowledge, and I'm to freedom and into peace. And the ego is going to make it sound like death. One of the things from A Course in Miracles, I think this is from a binder, healing binder, Karen and I were working on. It says, the thing that cures you, the ego makes the very thing that's going to cure you, the ego makes it sound like death. So one of the things Lori's been telling me to do forever is go to a Vipassana, 10 days of no talking, of silence. And literally, you all, when I think about that, I feel like I would rather die than be cut off from everybody, from words, from writing for 10 days. That sounds impossible to me. Meanwhile, I have so many people in my life that would be like, thank you. I would love to just be in peace for 10 full days. It's terrifying. So the thing that will save us is the thing that the ego tells you, no, that's the worst possible thing you could do. You don't even know, that's going to like mess you up so badly. It's like the scariest thing you could possibly do. It's not the scariest thing. It's your way out. It's your way to peace. And the ego is going to do everything. It's going to make it sound like death to keep you from finding your way back to oneness and your way back to love and your way back to God. That's what it looks like. So think about this. The thing that you really need to do is the thing that you think, there's no way, I could never do that. That's the thing that you really, really need to do. And I was just talking to Amanda, who's in our subscription group, and she was telling me about human design. And it was really interesting because she said to me, and she was explaining based on how much she knows, which is a lot more than I know, which is very little. So, but she was explaining how there's one thing that if you actually did it, took it on and actually embraced it, it would heal every part of you because it's your personal mountain you have to climb. And she said, for me, it's to be intimate with everybody. And if you think about what is being intimate, it's telling everybody the 100% truth all the time and not having any fear of 100% being yourself. And I really pride myself on making myself the thing that I need to be in the moment. And I never thought of it as inauthentic at all. I actually think of it as a great skill that I have. I know how to show up in a moment. I know what to say in the moment. I know what energy to bring to the moment. I know how to do all that stuff. But what would be really great is if I just showed up as me in every moment, not what the situation needed in every moment. And the idea of that, the concept of that is huge for me. Again, you might be listening to this going, I do that all the time. I don't even understand. I do that all the time. But each of us have our thing, our one thing that the ego is kind of built its walls around and saying, just keep this part's weak. You gotta, I'm starting to see it's all just a bunch of crap. It's all just a bunch of crap. And that's what the Course is telling us. I love that line. This makes absolutely no sense. It makes absolutely no sense when you actually start looking at it. It just doesn't even make sense. It's insane. Okay, so last paragraph. So as you approach the beginning, so the last thing I want to say about 5 is we start making progress and it gets really scary, but we have to go further and further back, and the ego is going to stop us and fight us each step of the way. So 6, the branch that bears no fruit will be cut off and will wither away. Be glad. The light will shine from the true foundation of life, and your own thought system will stand corrected. It cannot stand otherwise. You who fear salvation are choosing death. Life and death, light and darkness, knowledge and perception are irreconcilable. To believe that they can be reconciled is to believe that God and his Son cannot. Only the oneness of knowledge is free of conflict. Your kingdom is not of this world because it was given you from beyond this world. Only in this world is the idea of an authority problem meaningful. The world is not left by death, but by truth, and truth can be known by all those for whom the kingdom was created and for whom it waits. So be glad that things are getting, the parts of you that are breaking off and are breaking apart, and all this stuff that seems like destruction, these branch that bears no fruit, be glad that we're getting rid of these thoughts. Be glad we're bringing them into the light and the illusions are dissolving. It's exactly what we want. There is only one real thought system. It's the only one we can stand on. And so when we fear our salvation, when we fear spending 10 days by ourselves not talking, when we fear the things that are going to heal us, that is, what does it say over there? We're choosing death. We're keeping ourselves small. We're keeping ourselves separate instead of choosing the salvation, instead of doing the thing that's going to actually heal us. So it goes into the things that are irreconcilable, that are opposites. And if you believe that, then if you believe you can reconcile them, then you believe God and his Son you cannot reconcile. And only knowledge is free of conflict, and your kingdom is not of this world because it was given to you from far beyond this world. And only in this world is there an issue with the authority problem. Only in this world do you feel like you have to choose. Because again, in this time and space it exists, but in reality, this isn't even happening. So know that our kingdom awaits us, and it's a choice that we make. And the choice is the innocence perception. And what we're really getting to is seeing ourselves as completely innocent. And the way we get there is by seeing our brothers as completely innocent. Because anytime we don't see our brothers completely innocent, we see what illusion we have in ourselves that needs to be brought into the light and dissolved. And that, my friends, is chapter 3. So it's been great doing these videos. I enjoy it. And we're going to be on Zoom, so I'll probably stay on videos for our calls moving forward too. And I'll talk to you guys on October 30th, Tuesday at 7 p.m. And we'll do a chapter 3 review then. All right. Bye, everyone.